getting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
That's right, you're listening to Canary Crime News Talk. Today is August 31st, 2020, and this is episode 237. And today, 6% truth, 94% mind control. And you know me, I'm your best buddy Basil.
And this is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast where we go live with all the information that we can cover in a limited time. Can you believe it's almost September? It's almost the 19th anniversary of that fateful day when airplanes hit the tower.
Talking about 9/11?
Yeah.
Oh, that fateful day. Yeah, 19 years. Yeah, it certainly makes me feel old. But yeah, we're almost, I wonder what kind of festivities. You know, they threw a big hubbub on the 10th anniversary. I wonder if that's going to keep going, you know, if they keep trying to make a bigger deal about it every 10 years. What are we, coming up on the 20-year anniversary.
Well, it'll be interesting to see next year, depending on who the president is, that, you know, if they'll release some information about what might have happened that day that, you know, the public.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Hey, I'm trying to be positive. People tell me I should be positive, so that's my attempt.
Well, you know, Gonz. Oh, yeah, what do you got?
No, nothing. I was just going to say.
You were just going to say?
Nothing. I was going to say nothing. Go on.
I was going to say, you know, we could skip a lot of the fluff because, you know, bringing up 9/11 here makes a pretty good segue into the Flippy update.
It does. It truly does.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, folks, we're starting off with a Flippy update as we always do. And if you're new to the show, I'll just let you know the Flippy update is, Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arm that started by flipping burgers and has now increased his career ambitions to cover all sorts of work that used to be done just by good old human beings. We, you know, Flippy, he's coming at you. He's coming for you to take your jobs, enslave your children, and flirt with your spouses. And we just kind of use it as a conversation proxy to talk about how robotics and AI is moving into every little part of our lives, whether we like it or not. The capitalism, the capitalist, and that is part of the story today, coming from memphiscommercialappeal.tn.newsmemory.com. It's kind of a news archiving.
Before you go on, did you start recording on Audition?
Oh my gosh, I didn't.
You should probably maybe do that.
Good call.
Yeah.
I will do that as I'll try to do this all together at the same time. Yeah, just so, you know, a little peek behind the curtain for people. We get a lot of questions. A lot of people are inspired to start podcasts because we just make it look so easy, Gonz. And we give them a lot of advice. And one of the best pieces of advice that we can give to any new aspiring podcasters is you're going to want to record each person. If you got a couple people on your podcast, you want to get as many of those people recording natively on their own computer as possible. You know, just kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit of a snob, Gonz, but when I hear podcasts that record just the Skype input. Now, it's one thing if you have a guest, you know, you can't expect your guest to have a full software suite of, you know, recording software. But, you know, if you have a co-host, two regular people doing a podcast, you want to make sure each person is recording their own audio on their own computer because that it will give you the best quality sound in the end product. And that's enough vamping. I have now created the Audition file and started recording.
Perfect.
So here we go.
Okay.
memphiscommercialappeal.tn.newsmemory.com. This was posted on August 31st. That was today. Oh my gosh. And I want to thank our wonderful listener slash producer named, what's his name? Where is it? Aaron.
His name's Aaron.
Thank you,
yeah.
Aaron. Thank you, Aaron, for the email. Actually, I'm going to want to pull up that email because he had some good things to say. But the title of the headline rather is FedEx tests new flight system with no pilot. Now, this probably doesn't come as a surprise, but there's some surprises in there, Guns. A FedEx Express aircraft recently took flight without a pilot aboard to test the potential of autonomous flight. The Cessna 208 Caravan owned by FedEx performed an automated landing on June 30th. Video by Reliable Robotics, the company performing the test flights, shows the remotely piloted flight occurred at San Martin Airport in California. FedEx uses C-208 aircraft as part of its express feeder network, flying cargo to markets too small for FedEx's much larger Boeing and Airbus jets. San Francisco-based Reliable Robotics also performed a test with Cessna 172 Skyhawk, in which the aircraft automatically took off and landed. The company said in a news release both tests are historic firsts for global aviation. Quote, by bringing advanced automation to aviation, we will deliver higher safety, reliability, and convenience for cargo operators and eventually for passengers, said Robert Rose, Reliable Robotics Co. And then it goes into a little bit of a long...
Co-founder and CEO. It's kind of broken up weird there in the.
It is broken up weird. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Co-founder and CEO of Reliable Robotics. So there you go, Gons. Now, pilotless aviation is not necessarily a new thing. Of course, we've had drones and all sorts of fancy stuff. And, commercial airlines are mostly piloted by autopilot.
Right.
You have pilots there. You still need a pilot as of now. But, you talk to any commercial pilot, they'll say, well, especially on commercial passenger aircraft, it's mostly autopilot doing the work. But you still need a human being there. But this is a special situation because there was no pilot on board at all. Usually, especially with these tests and with all the AI driving tests going on, you always have a driver in the car, the Tesla. You always have a pilot on the plane. You always have a backup. But in this case, no backups, all robots, which is a pretty big step. And so watch out, pilots. Flippy is coming for you. And I want to read this email from Aaron, the listener who sent this in. Where is it? Wow, we got a lot of different Aarons emailing us. This is particularly alarming article for me personally, Aaron says. I knew it was coming, but dang, I want to be a pilot, and I have a lot of friends who are studying to be pilots right now with the sole purpose of flying for FedEx one day. It's the highest yearly pay a pilot can achieve. FedEx has successfully completed a cargo flight without the use of a pilot. I found this on my local Memphis paper. So yeah, there you go. That's an unfortunate situation for you, Aaron. I feel for you, buddy. It's just a matter of time before they have podcasting robots, and Gons, you and I are out of a job.
Yeah, I know. He says it's probably worth looking for a new career path, and that's, we talk about Flippy taking jobs, and it's kind of a fun little thing there. But I mean, this is like a real situation where they're studying to become a pilot specifically to fly for FedEx, and now robots taking the job before he even trains for it. And, they should be honest about that. I mean, I'm sure you can probably become one of these robot operators, like operate the robot to make sure that they're flying correctly or whatever. But
maybe something. Yeah, there's always other types of jobs created, but it's mostly, some sort of engineer type thing.
Right.
You don't get to live the romantic life of a pilot. So we're sorry to hear about that, Aaron. We'll be praying for you, buddy. And yeah, I wonder what the convo is like, when you show up to pilot school nowadays.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They should be upfront about the implications of something like this, and all the students that are involved now. I mean, they're not going to say anything, obviously. It'll just be one of those situations where eventually they're going to graduate, and you're going to have a whole bunch of qualified pilots that don't have a job. And,
Yeah. Unfortunately, I would say it is unfortunate, but it feels like that's one of the last jobs experiencing this. I mean,
sure.
over the past decade, you can get a lot of degrees and study a lot of things that are completely useless. But not to say that learning to be a pilot is useless. I would actually love to, learn to pilot a plane, not for a career opportunity, but for fun, I guess. But soon there will be a robot to take that away too, Gons. I don't know if you noticed, but I have I have two eyeballs on today.
Yes.
I repaired my ocular distraction device. For those who tuned in to the Elon Musk Neuralink live stream, it was so shocking that one of my eyeballs fell off. But I'm back in business.
Illuminati confirmed. One eye covered or fallen off, whatever you want to do with that.
It happens.
Okay. We got a bunch of updates to get through, and then we got two of the main big stories we'll eventually get to, which has to do with all the violence taking place across the country, and also the CDC talking about how their numbers are inflated, or telling some truth about some of those issues. But for now, we have a bunch of quick updates.
We interrupt this broadcast to give you a brief update. By the end of this timely interruption, you will be thoroughly updated.
If you're working alone, wear a mask. The mask's not for you. It's to protect the people you care about.
So over the weekend, last night, the MTV Video Music Awards was broadcast.
Big deal.
Don't really care, but they had a whole performance with Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande, and there they are wearing their masks, rolling around in bikinis. The part that I thought was very weird, especially given sort of the whole Elon Musk thing that we saw over the weekend, was, I think this was Lady Gaga, but I think she walks up to this giant piano, which is it's a giant brain. It's a brain piano, and I can't get this to play on Twitter here, but I mean, there's not much to say. I was more of a show and tell, less about talking about it, but
more of the sort of ritualistic looking performances.
Which is, I thought it was funny too, because over the years, a lot of the truther types, especially towards the beginning, it was breaking down the Super Bowl and VMAs and
finding the codes, dissecting the performance.
And at this point, it's so obvious that these platforms are meant for that, but they just went for it anyway. Like everyone wearing masks and doing the whole spiel.
Not a whole lot of subtlety.
No, like the subtlety is totally gone. Not that they were ever really subtle, if you really step back and look at what they were doing, but. It's just interesting how these platforms have been used to wake people up, and now it's just kind of like, well, yeah, of course they're going to have.
Yep.
But
and especially relevant when you consider, a lot of the very enthusiastic anti-maskers. They'll make a point that masks are a part of occult rituals and occult subservience, and so that's another particular reason why they don't want to wear a mask, and totally understandable, but really very blatant now with these sort of public rituals, where the masks are now part of, they're very colorful and entertaining types of masks. They're not just wearing your standard surgical mask that are $25 now at the grocery store.
Yeah, and of course, Lady Gaga, her history of talking about a new race of humans, and Ariana Grande, there was a music video she did a while ago, a few years ago now, where she's basically walking through with her boyfriend through town, and it's like a big apocalyptic thing. Everything's blowing up, and big comet and stuff like that. So anyway, they're always doing the signaling, and that's just it was just another case of that. But moving on here, we do have in relation to the whole COVID thing.
Are you ready to become cyborg?
Specifically, cyborg police. This is the ABC12.com article. Bishop Airport Police get smart helmets to screen for coronavirus, scan other info. And we can play this clip. It's 2 minutes long. Do you want to play it, or do you want to just read the Or it's a short article. I'll just read it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Flint, Michigan. Police at Bishop International Airport have a new tool to check passengers' temperatures, run them through facial recognition software, check license plates, and more from afar. The airport is one of the only businesses in the U.S. to deploy the smart helmet by Italy-based Keybiz. Bishop Airport Director Nino Sapono said the helmets will be used primarily to screen passengers for AFIBs, the flexibility to work the terminal building and randomly screen both incoming and outgoing passengers, he said. Smart helmets already are in use at airports around the world, including Rome. So there you go. It's just one of these things where, we knew this was going to happen, that they're going to unleash these kinds of... Well, hold on. Let me try to turn the audio off here. It's very low. But anyway...
To smart technology and its efforts...
Sorry. This little video player's horrible. Can't get it to turn the audio off. This is ridiculous. Anyway, it's the footage shows, people's faces being scanned with the heat signatures and everything. But you're gonna have these cops walking around.
Real RoboCop cyborg
super
feel
RoboCop.
there.
Yeah. And as if we're not being surveilled enough, now you have real-time officers with their
That's
cyborg
spooky,
helmets.
man. I do not like that.
No.
Another step in the right or wrong direction, depending on how you look at it.
I'd say wrong. This is all wrong.
Okay.
Okay, moving on here, because, of course, we are being watched.
Did you ever have the feeling that you were being watched?
This is abcnews.au. What's WA? What does that stand for? I don't think it's Washington.
WA? Washington, maybe?
Is it Washington? Maybe. I don't know. But this is like an Australian outlet. Anyway, Washington man set to be, WA man, whatever.
Western Australia.
There we go. Western Australia man set to be first Australian fitted with tracking device for alleged COVID-19 breach.
Oh, bro, we have not talked about all the crazy stuff going on in Australia, but hopefully this will give us a nice little in.
Yeah, a 53-year-old man accused of breaching quarantine directions and sparking a COVID-19 scare at the Perth pub is set to become Paul John Lawrence. Had been visiting family in Queensland and returned to West Australia on Friday without first applying for permission to return to the state. Acting Deputy Commissioner Paul Steele said, Paul Steele, I wonder if that's like brothers or family with
William Steele.
William Steele, yeah. Said Mr. Lawrence complained of chest pains when he arrived at Perth Airport, so was taken to hospital for treatment. It is alleged he then defied a direction to wait for transport to a quarantine hotel and instead left the hospital and checked into a backpacker hostel in Northbridge. Mr. Lawrence was found by police at the hotel Northbridge soon after, and the pub was closed overnight as a precaution. The WA Police Minister Michelle Roberts said he was now under police guard in hotel quarantine and had tested negative for coronavirus. He tested negative, Basil, and they're putting an ankle bracelet on him. She said work was being done to progress a direction under the Emergency Management Act to have Mr. Lawrence fitted with an ankle bracelet for the remainder of his time in quarantine. Why is he in quarantine if he tested positive? And why does he have...
Negative.
Negative. And why does he have an ankle bracelet?
Yeah, this is wild.
This is ridiculous.
Holy smokes.
And,
yeah.
And I'm sorry I have to bring this up, but you remember how all these like QAnon people were saying like, well, not just QAnon, but like kind of your super fringy conspiracy folks will look at pictures of celebrities and be like, see, they got the ankle trackers on, they're in trouble, 10,000 sealed indictments and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, now we got citizens that test negative walking around with these ankle bracelets because they violated some kind of protocol. Is out of control, man. Out of control.
Dude, Australia is really cracking down. I'm wondering, I'm not fully aware of the Australia-New Zealand relationship, but New Zealand for so long was being touted as the most effective at least Western country for controlling the virus. I wonder if Australia is feeling a little jealous, so they're cracking down to make sure. Because there's this guy with the ankle bracelet. There's a woman who I believe she got arrested and maybe some jail time. Don't quote me on that. Because she, traveled to the next town over or whatever, the next, I don't know what they call them, province or something over there, to visit her boyfriend or something, and police tracked her down and arrested her, I think. So they are really cracking down over there in Australia, and kind of feels like there's a little bit of a connection between, experimenting with just how much you can, put your citizens, basically make your citizens into prisoners in their own homes.
Yeah.
Of course, Australia, famously a prison colony.
Right,
but
right.
Unbeknownst to a lot of people, actually, the colonies in America were prison colonies as well. Yeah. And it's part of your secret history lesson for the day.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know, man. Australia is really cracking down. It's crazy.
And especially given a lot of, there were some big protests, anti-Rona lockdown protests in other parts of the world this past week, which was good to see. I mean, a lot of people getting together and fighting against this whole lockdown thing. And so it's getting very interesting, the two sides, how it's really a lot of people waking up to some of the realities and, having their voices heard, but also the police state cracking down in certain ways as well, which gets really messy in America when what's going on here. But moving on here, we had our Elon Musk Neuralink.
It's sad when you get sex offenders and casual people going to a pub all with the same ankle bracelet getting put on.
Yeah, prison society. We had our Elon Musk Neuralink broadcast in the last episode, and it had a lot of interesting responses. A lot of the future-y techie people were like, "Hey, this is fantastic." Other people like us going, "Oh, this is creepy and weird," and also, "Where are the monkeys?" But we have one quick update regarding somebody who was really all about the whole Neuralink thing.
You are already sort of a cybernetic symbiote. Neural nets are taking over from regular programming. So you are connected.
Blabbermouth.net. Gene Simmons praises Elon Musk's brain-computer tech Neuralink after live pig demo.
Why do we care what Gene Simmons thinks about this?
We don't, but it's
crazy.
Just it's hilarious how it's, I don't know. I mean, honestly, who cares? Like you said, but it's
celebrities, man.
Well, that celebrity support is a big thing. You got all these people that believe
PR.
Everything. Yeah, and so they need celebrity support for all kinds of stuff. And obviously, the transhuman thing has been in the works. But I just thought it was funny. Gene Simmons, Mr. Kiss, with the creepy tongue, the bass player. I think he's the bass player, right? I was never into Kiss. Were you ever into Kiss, the band?
No.
Okay, good. No. Couldn't really take him seriously.
Yeah, I know. I never really got it. I know that we have some metalheads in our chat and our listenership who probably were fans. We got some old school rock and rollers.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Can you even call them rock and rollers?
Not much more to say about that except for keep your tongue to yourself, Gene.
Okay, one quick thing before we get into our main stories here, because it was a very interesting week last week, where we had obviously the weekend before with Jacob Blake's situation and more of the civil unrest and all the race wars, getting all riled up. But there was a passing of several people of African American descent. And I thought this was very interesting because Chadwick Boseman passed away. Did you hear about this?
No.
You didn't hear Chadwick Boseman, the Wakanda Forever, passed away at 43 years old.
I didn't know that. He was, me, I don't look at the news on weekends.
Yeah.
I got to give myself a break, man.
Sure. But allegedly passed away of colon cancer or some kind of I think it was colon cancer.
Is he the guy who played Black Panther? The actual
He played
dude?
Black Panther. He also here's the
okay.
thing. He also played Jackie Robinson.
Uh-huh.
So like two really, really important black roles in movies, right? And he died of cancer. And the last tweet he sent out before he passed away is him standing next to Kamala Harris with the the raised fists in the background and everything. And vote 2020, yes, Kamala Harris. I don't know, man. If I'm thinking, it's really sad. I don't like seeing anybody pass away. But if I put on my tinfoil hat, this death and the timing, with everything going on with the race thing and everything in the elections and everything, very suspicious in my opinion. Because I mean he's the I mean he's like a generational figure for African American kids.
Totally.
And so
it's unfortunate. Again, very sad of his passing, but the timing with the election and his last tweet being the Kamala Harris thing, and then of course the news of his death bringing a lot of, if nothing else, it makes you wonder if of course he knew maybe he was passing soon, and people think it's crazy. It's not that much of a conspiracy theory. Celebrities already monetize their voice, their public voice, not just in movies and stuff, but also on social media. And so, it would make sense that if he was felt strongly enough that Kamala Harris was the answer to a lot of the issues going on, that he would end his Twitter career on that before passing. It's just my skeptical mind looks at that and says, wow, that's very convenient with everything else going on last week with the NBA shutting down or for at least a couple days. And obviously, and the NBA is so hard to watch too. Like I'm an NBA fan. I grew up an NBA fan, and I know some people say just boycott it, and I grew up a Lakers fan, which is an issue because the Lakers haven't been in the playoffs. To see the Lakers back in action, and we have like just Black Lives Matter on the court, and everyone's wearing jerseys that have like how many more, and which is right,
fine. They have the
slogan jerseys.
They have the right to do it, but like post game, pre game, it's all Black Lives Matter stuff, and it's like, man, can we at least have a little balance or a little neutrality? Or no,
you can't.
Okay,
no, it's an important movement, Gons. And of course, I mean, and then you can get into put on the tinfoil hat. The NBA is sort of in the grip of China.
Yep.
China pulls the strings on the NBA. That isn't so. NBA famously has bent the knee to China. And of course, there are some tinfoil hat connections between Black Lives Matter and China as far as creating political disruption in America to help Chinese interests.
Yeah. The Thunder in the chat was just said, Crimea River Gons, try growing up in Cleveland. Yeah. Rough to grow up a sports
joke.
fan.
NBA
no,
joke?
Not an NBA joke.
Totally understand.
Not an NBA joke.
Oh, what is it?
Well, maybe, but Cleveland is notorious for being a poor sports town. The Browns and the Cleveland Indians, they won a championship with LeBron a few years ago, so they got their one sports thing. But it's an ongoing joke for Browns fans that they never win, and they're it's just a horrible place to.
Sorry, you have a hard
fan.
life, Thunder. I feel for you.
Okay, back to more serious issues. We're gonna get into the first story here. I thought I had my. Oh, here we go. This is leading right into our first story.
The race wars.
Race wars.
Race war. I've warned you and warned you and warned you.
Okay, so let's start out here. This happened last week, but our schedule was booked up. We didn't get a chance to quite get into it. And a lot of times we like to give it a little time for all the facts to come out before we dig too much. But this is coming from politifact.com. So, you got kind of a fact-checky vibe, of course, strongly on the liberal side. And let's check a little fact-checking. What do you think, Gons?
Okay, let's see what the PolitiFact
this particular one So for those who don't know, Kyle Rittenhouse was the young fella in the Kenosha riots that showed up with an AR-15 with a group of other armed people to protect businesses there during the riots. And then he was in a situation where he ended up killing 2 people and wounding a third. The video's been floating around, and I certainly have my own thoughts about that. But here on PolitiFact, they are fact-checking at 17 years old. The Facebook post that said at 17 years old, Kyle Rittenhouse was perfectly legal to be able to possess that rifle without parental supervision. PolitiFact is calling that false, but let's get into it. Did Kyle Rittenhouse break the law by carrying an assault-style rifle in Kenosha? The 17-year-old accused of shooting 3 people during a protest in Kenosha, Wisconsin, faces several charges, including first-degree intentional homicide, but some widely shared Facebook posts say he should be cleared of at least some of them. In an August 27th post, one Facebook user said it was perfectly legal for Kyle Rittenhouse, who was arrested in Antioch, Illinois, after fleeing Wisconsin. Fleeing was... there's already a problem there.
Yeah.
To brandish, we went through the brandish conversation on the last episode, an assault-style rifle on the streets of Kenosha. Quote, care of this area at 17 years old, Kyle was perfectly legal to be able to possess that rifle without parental supervision. The post was flagged as a part of Facebook's efforts to combat false. Police say someone opened fire on them. Oh my gosh. The manipulation of this story is crazy.
Yeah.
The violence occurred on the third night of the protests over the shooting of Jacob Blake, a black man, by a white police officer in Kenosha. Blake survived, but is partially paralyzed from a bullet that severed his spinal cord. Rittenhouse stands accused of shooting the protesters, since his lawyer has said that Rittenhouse obtained the assault-style rifle. This, just so everybody knows, I know the gun people out there already know this, but assault-style rifle is a completely made-up term by the media. That's a media term. There's no, which it is categorically not an assault rifle, but, it's scarier to say assault rifle. You can strike more fear into the public by misnaming it that way, but they got called out too many times. So now they call it an assault style rifle, which means it's just black. It's a black rifle. From a friend in Wisconsin, meaning that he didn't transport it from his home in Illinois. Illinois. We're going to focus on the second half of that claim, that it was perfectly legal for the teenager to carry a firearm in Kenosha. So that's something that I heard come up a few times with this. I've been going back and forth, even with some liberal normie friends that I have, because I always felt very strongly about this. I had a lot of conversations where they say, he didn't even live there. He crossed straight lines. That's called hunting if you go somewhere else to shoot someone. Okay, he crossed state lines, but he lived 25 minutes away. He didn't travel hours and brood in the car while listening to death metal to go kill someone. It was a 25-minute drive from his home to where he was. So anyways, let's keep going. Is that true? State laws suggest not, says PolitiFact. The Wisconsin Department of Justice honored my editorial. He was not concealed carrying. Wisconsin is an open. What?
Yeah, that's. I have that highlighted. The concealed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Wisconsin Department of Justice honors concealed carry permits, but Rittenhouse did not have a permit to begin with, and he was not legally old enough to carry a firearm in Wisconsin. Again, some manipulation of the facts there, and it's sad because if you know anything about guns, gun laws, that's easy to pick out. But of course, the people who are going to PolitiFact for their fact checking don't know the first thing about firearms or firearm laws. So, he was not concealed carrying. So this entire paragraph about how he didn't have a CCW permit means nothing. It's a junk paragraph. Throw it away. Okay. In Illinois, concealed carry applications, again, must be at least 21 years old. Rittenhouse is 17. He would not qualify for a permit. Doesn't matter. He was not concealed carrying, PolitiFact. You're lying to the American public. Continuing on.
He had it out for everyone to see. It was not concealed
He was
whatsoever.
open carrying. Okay. Moving on. Wisconsin law stipulates that any person under 18 years of age who possesses or goes armed with a dangerous weapon is guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. On August 27th, prosecutors charged Rittenhouse with a misdemeanor count of possession of dangerous weapons under the age of 18, according to the court records. Now, that very well could be true. And not that he possessed it at all, but he possessed it without parental supervision.
Okay.
A 17-year-old can have a rifle, but if he needs to have his parents with him.
Yeah. First off, if you click on that link, the stipulates link, it takes you to not the actual thing that they're talking about here, because it takes you to, let's see, what is this? 840 or 948.605 section 2 1M. A person who possesses a firearm in accordance with blah blah blah. It has nothing to do with what they were trying to link it to. A
Fake
different
link.
section. No, it's the same
misleading link.
Well, not even misleading. It's just I think it's just a mistake. Did I lose? Yeah, I had stuff highlighted here. I wonder what happened to my highlights. Trying to find the actual spot here because it did clarify. Wow, did they change the page or something?
You want to keep cruising it while I continue?
Yeah, keep reading the article there.
Where was I? John Monroe, an attorney who specializes in gun rights, told the Milwaukee Journey Sentinel that there's an exception for rifles and shotguns, which is aimed at letting children ages 16 and 17 hunt. That could apply, but Rittenhouse wasn't in Kenosha to hunt. Okay, so you're saying the law says it's fine, but he wasn't there to hunt. Well, which is it? Some people are saying he specifically went there to hunt rioters. So, I mean, anyways,
it puts them between a rock and a hard place.
Just a little gallows humor there. The newspaper reported that based on interviews, videos, and social media posts, Rittenhouse considered himself to be a militia member protecting private property. His Facebook page, which has since been taken down, had several posts expressing support for the police. Oh, the horror! The horror that this evil child would support the police. Quote, people are getting injured and our job is to protect this business. Rittenhouse told the Daily Caller in a video interview before the shooting. Oh, interesting. Before the shooting. Quote, and whoa. Before the shooting, he had a video interview with the Daily Caller. That's pretty interesting if you talk about setting up a situation to create, a bigger story than it originally was.
Right.
Huh. Okay, we'll put that off to put a pin in that. Quote, and my job also is to protect people. If someone is hurt, I'm running into harm's way. That's why I have my rifle. I've got to protect myself, obviously, but I also have my med kit. We reached out to the person who published the Facebook post for a comment, but we haven't heard back. Whether Rittenhouse violated Wisconsin law by possessing a firearm underage is the subject of ongoing litigation, but the Facebook post claimed that it was, quote, perfectly legal for the teenager to carry an assault-style rifle in Kenosha. At best, it's unproven. At worst, it's inaccurate. Either way, we rate this post false.
Either way.
When you hear what I just read, the entire thing, does that just scream false? That we need to make up our mind that it's called false when they literally just said it's up for debate and will be decided in the courts?
This is what I don't get about. I think this is just playing on the I don't know, the laziness of the public to not actually read articles and just read headlines or read certain things and that confirm their bias. Because if you read through it, even the article itself brings into question, like if I was just objective about this and I thought, okay, it's false, let's see, and I read the article, I'd be like, okay, how did they conclude it's false?
They don't. This is the second or third episode we've hit a PolitiFact article, and they're the worst of the fact-checking things. At least Snopes, when they, rate something true or false, at least they take a strong stance on it.
Yeah.
This is like the third PolitiFact fact-checking article that ends with, well, maybe it isn't, maybe it's not, we'll see, but we say it's...
No, it is their job, post-2013 Smith-Munn Modernization Act. They're getting paid. They're getting paid to do this.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That is their job. They need that. Yeah. But so there's a few things to mention. You just let me know when you have something to jump in with.
I can't find the actual, because there's a section that talked about how, again, there's some exemptions with age, and it was just the whole thing. It debunked basically the PolitiFact claims there in general.
Yeah.
Based on Wisconsin state law. So like even when they're trying to link it to the thing, it's like they don't link it to the right thing, because obviously if they did, they'd, if anyone who wants to actually read through it, they'd be like, that's the exact opposite of what PolitiFact is coming to conclusions for. But in any case, I can't find the exact spot here. It's it's a mess. Law papers and
if you find
documents.
Oh, I get it. So now, Guns, I'm assuming you watched all of the footage of this Kyle Rittenhouse situation.
I watched most of it, yeah.
Okay. So I watched all of it, and, I mean, it's very obvious that a very strong case is going to be made for self-defense, and that's really where all this comes in.
Right.
The first person he shot, that was the headshot, which is a little brutal. And this was kind of before the big tussle. These rioters are mad, and they're, of course, attacking people and businesses and things like that. The first one, he shot this bald guy, and the bald guy is charging him at such an incredible speed. I mean, this reminded me of, like, I don't know, when you see a zombie movie or like the White Walkers in Game of Thrones or something, and it's just this sort of mindless, frantic, super fast sprint straight at somebody, and he did, and it's being reported when you read it on liberal things that he just shot this guy in the head out of nowhere. But you watch the video, it is a full-on zombie sprint straight at Kyle. And in the self-defense laws, you must take all other actions before you fire your weapon. But this bald guy, he was burly and running full speed right at Kyle. I feel he felt he couldn't have run. He couldn't have done anything else. And in that moment, when you've got, a second to spare, not even a second, he made the choice and fired his weapon and took that guy out. And that one was a little brutal, especially because considering the following video. The second video was Kyle was actively running away from a mob of people. And the mob is chasing him down. And of course, like all these videos, you hear the mob yelling, "Kill him, take his gun, no," all this kind of stuff. And take your gun, or those types of trigger phrases, that alone is enough to trigger a self-defense situation, much less them running after you, a mob of people running after you. That's a decent reason for a self-defense, criminal defense. Then, if you watch the video, he gets knocked down. One guy smacks him in the head with a skateboard. And if we're just going on precedent, people have been charged with attempted murder just in the past few months for beating people with their skateboard. Right. So a skateboard is considered a lethal weapon. So that's attack one. That guy is the guy who got shot in the chest and went down. After that, you have... Oh my gosh, I don't have his name up. Shoot, hold on 1 second. Let me pull it up. The big conversation is about the guy who got shot in the arm.
Right, if he had a gun in his hand. But also there was somebody, and maybe this is the point where another guy went at him, but he was Kyle was already on the ground, and he had his gun. And I think this is after he shot one guy already. And then the other guy came and he actually showed restraint. Like, he didn't just shoot him. Mm-hmm. And he kind of waited because he stopped. Mm-hmm. The guy was like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, whoa, this is a little intense. But then
That's another thing. Sorry.
Oh, I thought, if I'm not mistaken, the same guy decided after he paused to go in anyway. And I think is it the same guy or different guy? I couldn't really tell.
It was a different guy.
It was a different guy. Okay, I'm not I didn't dissect that video too hard. I just watched it a couple times. It's hard.
I spent a lot of time just on my own going through this. So then, yes, and that's another point for Kyle. And I'm not trying to. I have no personal stake in this kid Kyle's story. I'm literally just going from what I know about gun laws, which is, more than at least the average normie, and what you see in the video. And Kyle showed pretty impressive restraint. There were a couple people who ran in and swung at him criminally at rounds, and he hit 3 people. So this is not a panicked kid just firing a gun willy-nilly.
I was speaking to a neighbor, I mentioned him before, the same neighbor who was a cop for 20-something years. And he's like a liberal guy. He's like a libjo guy. And he was like, man, this kid, I'm more impressed that he only, he took 3, he fired off 3 rounds and all of them were hits.
Yep. I know. I was very impressed too. In the madness of that situation, he really showed a lot of restraint.
Right.
Then there's this other guy, and I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's spelled Gaige. So Gage, maybe?
Probably, yeah.
Gage Grosskreutz. Now, this was the guy who got shot in the arm, and this is the one that people, you look on, your liberal friends might have posted it, your Black Lives Matter people, they will show you the picture of his arm that got shot, got a rifle round through it. It's not pretty looking.
Oh, it's gross.
But they will crop out his hand that is holding a pistol. To try to give this guy some innocence. He's not innocent. He is a felon, number one, so he should not even have a gun. But in the video, you see this Gage guy running up to Kyle after Kyle shot the skateboard guy in the chest, and other people backed off. Again, Kyle, after that one guy got shot, other people running up to him were like, oh, no, I do not want to mess this with the kid. This kid is serious. And they back up. They raise their hands. And this Gage guy comes running up to Kyle, pulls out a pistol. Gage hits him in the arm. And, of course, he goes running and holds onto his pistol. So, this whole story that he's mindlessly shooting Black Lives Matter protesters, peaceful protesters, is the most egregious scene. He brought a gun across state lines, which, a normal person, again, if you're legal to bring a gun across state lines. And so there, that immediately is taken away. Then there's he's 17 years old. He's not allowed to have a gun. That's not true. You can have a gun when you're under 18 in a lot of states. And then, it's funny because that PolitiFact article actually debunks the liberal stance on that. On his, his age restriction. And then, of course, they tried to muddy up the conversation with the talk about the concealed carry. But concealed carry laws do not apply in this case. He was open carrying. Wisconsin is not going to be convicted of murder, especially first degree murder. He didn't travel hours on end to go hunt protesters. He drove 25 minutes to a town that he spends a lot of time in because it's the next big town. Kids need big towns to go do whatever kids are going to do. Now, the other thing is with his rap sheet. And I mentioned last episode that the rap sheet conversation is not one that, the liberals want to have right now because I don't have it up in front of me, but he has a number of items on his rap sheet, including drug paraphernalia. He has a couple of those. So, he got caught with a bong or something, or a pipe or something like that, which, it doesn't look great on the rap sheet, but he's a 17-year-old kid. That's kind of what happens. Oh, look, I'm not going to try to defend him. I don't mean to downplay it. He had a couple of drug paraphernalia charges. He had a intoxicated while firing a firearm, which again, on its face, sounds like he's drunkenly running down the street, shooting at things and go shoot some cans, which is illegal, but it's not necessarily like a terrorist type of rap sheet that this kid has. So certainly having priors is not going to help him in the courts, but he's not some hardened criminal like he's being made out to be. Then thirdly, going into the rap sheet thing, and this has been discussed quite a bit, but every single guy who charged him like a PCP zombie, he was a felon, and then this Gage guy was a felon, and then I think the third guy had a sexual charge on his thing, so that's obviously being brought up in the conservative circles. And this Gage guy was a felon. He was also illegally carrying a firearm. So this whole conversation about this Kyle kid is an evil terrorist and he shot some innocent, peaceful protesters is complete bunk. And, I saw 36 or 34, 36-year-old father and, peaceful activist is shot and killed by crazy white supremacist 17-year-old. But that guy, just on the basis of you're trying to up to a minor who's on the ground and smashing him in the head with a skateboard, just on his face, destroys the argument that he was this peaceful father of one who wouldn't hurt a fly. So that's just, in the video evidence. That's not even digging into his actual past. But anyway, so there's the rundown of my view of what went on with this Kyle kid. Since then, this Kyle kid has really gotten a lot of positive attention from the right for a lot of reasons, and that makes total sense to me why that would be happening. And I think in the end he's going to be okay. I doubt he's going to have any serious prison time for this.
All right. While you didn't look at the news, there was more turmoil over the weekend.
Race war.
I've warned you and warned you and warned you.
And this was a shooting that occurred, I believe, last night in Portland, or maybe it was the night before. This is coin.com. Wheeler denounces shooting, trades blame with Trump.
Oh, dang it. I'm so sorry. There's one thing I needed to mention.
Okay.
Kyle immediately tried to turn himself into the police. He walked immediately after following this, walked towards a group of police with his hands up. There were some reports of audio of him, saying, "I just shot somebody. I need to turn myself in." And the cops, the media will say, he's got his white privilege. He's, walked right up to the cops, and the cops didn't care. They just kept on. He tried to turn himself in right after the incident, and then later turned himself in more effectively. So this is not, he's not trying to get away with murder, literally.
Right.
Sorry.
Okay. So it's okay.
On to the next story.
All right. So in Portland, there was another shooting, another death. Portland, Oregon Mayor Ted Wheeler reiterated his message of not tolerating violence in the wake of Saturday's deadly shooting and traded barbs with President Donald Trump over the situation, who was tweeting his own comments during a press conference. Wheeler began Sunday's briefing joined by Portland Police Bureau Chief Chuck Lavelle and Multnomah County District Attorney Mike Schmidt by offering condolences to the friends and family of the man killed in downtown Portland and condemning the violence. He vowed to support law enforcement in capturing the suspect and holding that person accountable. Quote, "The tragedy of last night cannot be repeated," Wheeler said. "All of us must take a stand against violence." One person died Saturday night after groups of pro-Trump protesters and counter-demonstrators clashed near Southwest 3rd and Alder, one witness told Coin 6 News. While acknowledging the constitutional right Americans have to come into Portland, he warned anyone seeking retribution later Sunday night to stay away. The mayor said the situation cannot de-escalate without a unified cooperation. Wheeler then turned the focus to the National Front and said Trump's lack of leadership and unwillingness to denounce violence as the culprit creating the divide in Portland. And he just goes, bonkers after Big Orange Man there. But I just thought it was very interesting. This article in particular sort of, siding with the Ted Wheeler, the mayor of Portland, because I don't know if you saw the footage of this one, Basil, but there's a scuffle. It looks like there's some kind of smoke bomb or maybe a Molotov cocktail or something going off. And then it said some guy yells, if I'm not mistaken, I think he says like, "There's the Trump guy," or like Trump supporter or whatever.
There's
and then
the Trump supporter, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a gunshot. And the aftermath has been pretty crazy as well. I'm going to go to this New York Post article, and this is right wing now, so this is a right wing report, just for clarity's sake. Yeah. Man suspected in deadly Portland shooting calls himself 100% Antifa. So they went to his social media stuff, and it says an ex-military man who calls himself 100% Antifa and ready for war is being investigated over the deadly shooting of a President Trump supporter in Portland, according to a report. Michael Forrest Reynolds, 48, is being investigated over the death of Aaron Danielson, a supporter of the right-wing Patriot Prayer Group, who was part of a caravan of Trump supporters who flooded the city Saturday, police told the Oregonian. And the footage shows these trucks, carrying the Trump flag and rolling through Portland, and people screaming and yelling and throwing stuff at him. And a few people tried to stand in front of the car, which I don't know what you're doing, any kind of protest.
Always
Why are
a bad
you standing
decision.
in front
That's
of the car?
kind of like trying to beat a guy who has a gun with a skateboard, and then you get shot and wonder why you got shot.
Yeah.
He was standing in front of a big truck and wondering why you get run over.
Yeah. He was identified in part by a distinctive tattoo on his neck of a Black Power fist, as well as a call from his estranged sister, who recognized him in video and photos of the deadly attack, the paper said. The 36-year-old sister, whom the Oregonian agreed not to name, was first alerted after a threatening call that woke her at 8 a.m. Sunday, warning that, quote, "our whole family was in danger unless we turned him over." Quote, "we reached out to police and confirmed that we recognized Michael in the screenshots from the shooting," she told the paper. The father of two is estranged from most of his family, including his parents, after stealing from them, the sister said, quote, "on the one hand, this whole thing surprises the daylights out of us because we always thought he is a lot of bark, not a lot of bite," she said, "but he's also been very impulsive and irrational." She decried the shooting as, quote, "not the solution to the nation's problems." And then kind of, goes on to quote the man there. Let's see. It says here, Reynolds, who had a son and a daughter, regularly posts about Black Lives Matter and the protests on his social media, which is now swamped with threats and pro-Trump messages in the comments. Quote, "every revolution needs people that are willing and ready to fight," he wrote in June, comparing it to his time in the army. Quote, "I am 100% Antifa all the way. I am willing to fight for my brothers and sisters," he said, insisting he would not run from violence. Quote, "it will be a war, and like all wars, there will be casualties," he wrote, calling protesters in Antifa "my brothers in arms." He also claims to have been hit by a rubber bullet while working security at protests, and most recently posted video of a flag being burned by a mob chanting "F Trump."
Mm-hmm.
And again,
it's
it kind
so
of goes
funny.
on here.
The things, they tear this Kyle kid apart for saying that he supports the police. And that's used as, proof that he's a white supremacist terrorist who wants to shoot people. And then you have this guy literally saying, "I want to shoot people. I need to fight. I'm gonna fight. I am 100% Antifa. I'm ready to get whoever needs to get got." And then here you go.
Yeah, and and it's very strange how, in this particular situation, a lot of the liberal social media, at least that I've seen, and obviously this isn't the sentiment of everybody, but a lot of what I've seen is like doing the same thing as this guy Ted Wheeler did, kind of blame Trump for it all. because this is Trump's America. And, nobody mentioning how this guy was like openly Antifa, like, I am Antifa. I will shoot. I will fight, whatever.
Right.
And because all the same social media people in the past were saying Antifa is not a terrorist group. They're not violent. They're anti-fascists, and they're trying to play that whole card. And now they're
if they even admit that Antifa is real and not just a right-wing hoax.
Yeah. There's different levels here. But I just thought it was very interesting that in this particular situation, you have, the opposite end of what, and a Trump supporter getting killed, but no one really cares in terms of the media and stuff. They're not going to really carry this or push this or anything like that. And, it's unfortunate. This kind of thing doesn't need to happen. I'm against all kinds of violence, but
and then there's the conversation about, again, going to the tinfoil hat conversation of, actors.
Yes.
Just state actors, not even have to be actors like Hollywood acting, but state actors.
Provocateurs.
It's very, isn't there? That's a perfect state actor setup for, getting attention beforehand. And then, this kid, did this thing. And this is kind of similar too. He's kind of the perfect Antifa representative, or at least what, we've been taught Antifa people are like, constantly talking about theory that, these are all continued setups to keep stoking division and eventually civil war, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's been the play here for a long time. And we'll do one more quick story that's not as crazy, but also part of the whole race war propaganda machine here.
The race wars.
The race war.
I've warned you and warned you and warned you.
Speaking of tinfoil hats and all of that, Eurogamer.net. Ubisoft pulls Black Lives Matter raised fist from new Tom Clancy game following backlash. So our Twitch viewers might find this interesting since it's a game-related story. Ubisoft has promised to pull an image used in a Tom Clancy video game after it was accused of promoting alt-right Black Lives Matter conspiracy theories. Okay, so alt-right Black Lives Matter conspiracy theories, meaning that Black Lives Matter is a sort of a construct of the New World Order, that type of thing. Ubisoft came under fire this weekend for its use of the raised fist image in the intro video for Tom Clancy's Elite Squad, a kind of Tom Clancy All-Stars action RPG for mobile devices drenched in a Fortnite-style graphics style. Its development by Oleant, Owleant, the Paris-based studio behind horse breeding games. It was a big, big jump from horse breeding to full-on, civil unrest games. The intro video depicts a society in civil unrest. A group called Order is said to be organizing deadly terrorist attacks to generate even more chaos and weaken governments, quote, at the cost of many innocent lives. Umbra uses the raised fist as its symbol. The intro video has been roundly criticized on social media for tapping into real-world alt-right Black Lives Matter conspiracy theories and the creation of the game's enemy organization. One of the game's narrative designers took to Twitter to express anger about the use of the raised fist, saying they were under the impression Umbra were supposed to be a James Bond-esque villain organization, quote, not something that looks like what the Q conspiracy people think is happening. The Ubisoft representatives took to YouTube to say the raised fist logo was chosen, quote, because it is a universal symbol of resistance, and to insist, quote, any resemblance to images associated with the Black Lives Matter movement is coincidental. Quote, the Tom Clancy's Elite Squad is a work of fiction and does not portray any real-world events. Ubisoft to modify the trailer in the next update.
Interesting.
So there you go. Yeah, a little cancel culture going on for Ubisoft.
Yeah.
And,
that's so funny. And, the raised fist thing, I guess the current generation or the current group of, cognitive observers will connect the raised fist, obviously, to Black Lives Matter. Now, the raised fist has been a long-standing symbol. I mean, it was a Marxist symbol. It was a socialist symbol. It was a communist symbol. It's been a symbol for many different movements. And yeah, like you said, it's a recurring symbol for different resistance movements, depending on, no matter where you want to point it out. I mean, this revolution, it was a symbol. It is a recurring resistance symbol. And it doesn't belong to Black Lives Matter. So I understand the game developer here, but it shows an interesting trend in society that symbols can be be making copyright claims on the fist up symbol.
Yeah, we'll have somebody will say like, "Hey, these fists have a really edgy thumb. Our fists have a rounded thumb." So
yeah, they're going to be going to court on the design of the actual hand.
Yeah. But I just thought it was funny that they would go with that sort of narrative in the storyline, or at least the imagery to go along with the narrative. And, people got all upset.
That is funny. And, it's not necessarily wrong.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
Yep. All right. But let's take a quick break, and then we'll get into all the coronavirus mishap here going on.
Sounds good.
All right. Here we
Let's
go.
take a quick break.
It's break time. Come on, take a break.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a very quick break, but don't go anywhere because after the break, we've got quite a breakdown of COVID, mind control, and the CDC and the recent revolution that seems to be happening over at the CDC, and the madness in the responses from the media and others. So stick around for that important update. But before then, we want to thank a few people. We want to thank some new Twitch followers as well as some producers of this show. Guns, are you ready to ding away? That's right. Okay, first of all, we had quite a number of Twitch followers come in since the last episode, so I'm going to zoom through. You ready?
Yep.
You're ready. Checkmate 121. Aaron Swartz 76. Wiley Coyote 1. I wonder if that's Jay Vela. I wonder if Jay Vela changed their name to Jay Denver Airport Artist.
Maybe.
Sour Pickles. Pyrovirus. And the drama continues, Gons. Basil's mom, no daughter-in-laws. Got another cast member. Best pop ever.
Awesome.
Snowbird Woman. Marquis. Hannah Faith 7. Alaskan CC. And this one, Real Zyres. Okay. Sneezy Mango. And lastly, we have Felipe.
Okay.
Thank you, Philippe. There we go. Those are all our new Twitch followers. And just to keep everybody posted, we do appreciate those follows on Twitch. As you know, YouTube has not been kind to us. They don't like us very much. So we recommend that you follow us on multiple platforms because you never know when we'll just disappear from one of them. And Twitch is one of the ones we like to recommend to people. You can follow us at twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. We'll pop that link in the chat for you if you want to jump on now. And make sure to turn on notifications. So thank you very much. Next, we want to thank some of our producers. Producers, you say? Yes, producers. And here's why. We operate on the value for value model. We believe advertising and the system built around it is an evil system that motivates and incentivizes content creators to consider their listenership as numbers or animals or crops to be multiplied at any cost. say what you must say, do what you must do, as long as you get as many eyeballs so that you can turn around and sell those eyeballs to corporations for your own personal gain. We believe the advertising system has brought integrity to its knees in these days. And so therefore we made the decision we will not be advertising. We don't want to consider you, our listeners, as commodities to be traded for our own personal gain. Instead, we work on the value for value system, which means we create value. We do the show, we do it often, and we do it well. And in turn, if you enjoy the show, if you get value, whether you've listened to 1 or 10 or 100 episodes, if it brings any value to your life, you are then faced with the option to rebel against the global theology of advertising and monetization and all these types of things. It's truly a rebellious act to purposefully support a piece of media that you find valuable. And that's what we ask. If you find value in what we do, consider jumping in and help create the value. And financially, this is the real world. If you help a piece of media, pay for a piece of media to be created, you're not just a donor, you are a producer. You're part of the team. You're on the team. And so we want to thank some of the new team members right now. And one of the best ways to do that is you can go to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. And you can join up there. And right now, since last episode, we've had one upgraded support since last episode, and that is from Sergio. So thank you very much, Sergio, for your increased support. I always say it's hard enough to get new people to jump in and support. It's even harder to encourage or to inspire people to increase their current support. So thank you, Sergio, for finding value in what we do and being an integral part of keeping that value going. But that's it. No other producers on the Patreon or the Canary Cry Radio Patreon. But if you don't like Patreon, which we understand, there's a lot of reasons not to like Patreon, but that's why we have canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That is right. And if you head over there to canarycryradio.com/support, we'll throw the link in the chat for you. If you don't like Patreon, that's a great spot. We got PayPal options. You can make a monthly support amount, or if commitment's not your thing, you can make a one-time support amount. I'm trying not to call it donation. I need to find a better term for that. If you want to become a producer, there's all sorts of options. There's also cryptocurrency and stuff like that. Gons, what do we have coming in on PayPal since last episode?
Since last episode, we have 3 new producers. We have Timothy, who came in with a nice support.
Thank you, Timothy.
Thank you, Timothy. We also have William, who stepped up as producer.
Thank you very much, William.
And also James. Thank you, James.
James.
And I will say, you haven't been kicked off the line, which is a good sign.
Yeah.
But we still have had quite a bit of buffering issues, and I don't know at this point if this is a situation that's internet related from my location or the restream, which divides up the stream, or it's a lot of
I think
questions.
there's multiple steps to it, and I will proudly say we tried your idea last episode, still had disconnections. Then we tried my idea for this episode, and so far, no lost Skype calls gone. So I think I get the point for this one. But you're right, still a lot of buffering. I'm wondering if there's an additional hang-up bottleneck going on with our restream. We might want to try maybe streaming to less places. Maybe we can give up a 1 or 2, because right now we stream to 4, 5, 6 different places at once.
We stream to 7 different places.
7, yeah. I'm wondering maybe we can try cutting that down to maybe 4 for next episode. We'll see if that helps with the bottlenecking issues.
Yeah, well, I will say that your solution cost money. Mine was a free a free attempt.
Yes. Well, there you go. You got to spend money to make money, guys.
Yeah. I want to thank some of our different producers who come in with music or art. So
that's right.
We always look for art.
One art, please.
Okay.
And before we show the artwork, we did get a track from Joey Sims. So thank you, Joey, for sending it.
Right.
It didn't have any lyrics or anything like that. It's just an electronic thing. I'll play, I don't know, a few seconds of it here. I think this is it right here. Let's see.
Okay.
That's not it. That's the ape. That's a monkey. Oh no, I don't think I have it.
Oh God, so
I thought I had it in my
promises.
I know. I thought I had it in my folder here, but maybe I have to go back and pull it up. Sorry about that, Joey Sims. But it was and this is another thing that we constantly try to remind people that do want to produce jingles or music for us for the playlist at the end. We appreciate, because people send us stuff and they're like, hey, I recorded this a few years ago, and that's great. We love it. Thank you so much for sending that to us. But we are looking for show specific things that have direct references to either stories or a topic that we talk about. And so
even if it's even if you have an old song that you've written or a piece of electronic music that you've created, it's easy to make it show specific. Just take some clips of the show, play with it around, put it to a beat, chop it up, make me say things that I didn't say. Who knows? Whatever. It's just something to make it Canary Cry-y.
Right.
Is what we're looking for.
Yes. And oh man, I really thought I downloaded that track, but I guess I didn't because I can't find it. I'll have to play it again maybe next episode. But in the meantime, for the drawings, the actual pen to paper type of work that we constantly get that I truly appreciate. I think it's very cool that we get
great.
this.
It's fun. Love it. Love fan art.
This is fan art from producer Ali. Of course, our probably our most very I don't know what is she?
Our
She's
prolific.
Prolific. That's the word I'm looking for.
Prolific artist. Yes. Ali Gazel and Bonds in the chat.
Gazel and Bonds in the chat, and this is two pigs, Elon's prized pigs, healthy. It says healthy and happy, happy, happy.
Yes, and if you didn't catch our Neuralink live stream, yes, that was an ongoing theme. Was Elon Musk really wanted to convince us that his pigs were the happiest pigs around.
Yeah, Jesus Protects on the YouTube chat. Fan jingles are fine and good, but why don't you guys create your own jingles? Hey, most of the jingles are in-house created, so maybe
sounds like he's a new listener. Most of the jingles are created by Gons.
Yeah.
But we have some talented people who listen, and we want to get them in on the project.
Yes, and so thank you, Ali. I love the pigs. They're very cute. I wonder which one the one is with the actual...
Yeah. The only names I remember was Joyce was one of them, I think, and then...
Gertrude?
Gertrude, yes. Joyce and Gertrude.
Yeah, we were both off.
We also... Good. Thank you, Ali.
Thank you, Ali. We also got art from another regular, Jay Vella. This is Designer Babies.
Oh.
And this is it's like a conveyor belt with little babies, a giant robot with some wires attached to what looks like shower heads, but they're not shower heads. They're just probably actually those look like neurons or what are they? Synapses in the brain, maybe.
Ah, yes, okay.
And then on one side of the conveyor belt has BCI, brain computer interface, and the other side has RFID. And there's a hooded individual in the middle of the robot controlling it all.
Oh, yes. The Designer Babies. Very good, Jay Vella. Thank you very much.
Yes. And we also got one. This is a hand-drawn portrait of you and I. Yes. This is from Incarnate Unlimited.
Dated updates of how the portrait was going, and it's finally ready, and it is incredible. Very talented.
There's people drawing portraits of me. What do you think of that? And her response was, does he realize that you're way scruffier in person? So no love from the wife, even though beautiful portrait by Incarnate
Not
Unlimited.
impressed.
Not impressed.
Not impressed.
Yeah, very hard to
but
impress
we
the wife.
are very impressed with
I'm
Incarnate
impressed.
Unlimited's portrait here. Very incredible. And yes, so you've got a very, very, very handsome picture of you there, Gons. One of your better headshots there.
Yeah, I'm gonna start using this for my for my CV.
This is great. This looks. We could put this on a shirt. And then there's me. My portrait was from a picture of me at Burning Man, because I'm wearing my full face respirator and my goggles and my hat. And then he has a little canary down there in the corner.
Yeah,
really very impressive, Incarnate. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it. So there you go. That's the artwork for this episode. And again, a continued thank you to That Night Wind, who continues to post timestamps in the YouTube, on the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel for the episodes. So if you want to skip around and look at what stories we talk when, look for the pinned comment by That Night Wind. They've been doing a great job of giving us the timestamps so people don't have to sit through all the banter.
Yeah,
and get right to the stories they want to get to. So
very good. Cody's Twitch account on Twitch says, "Tattoo that on your back." That's a good tattoo.
Tattoo of my own face on my back. Yeah, that'll be pretty. I don't know. That's like the definition of narcissism right there.
It sounds like something Johnny Knoxville would have been dared to do or something.
Didn't Steve-O do that? Steve-O, I thought, tattooed himself.
Steve-O, you're right.
Yeah, anyway.
He got his own face tattooed on him. So there you go. You're next, Gons.
Great.
All right, there we go. Thank you to all of our producers, not just the financial kind, but also the talented artists that are producers of much. You guys are the best. Over there on Apple Podcasts from Ace Band Dad says, "Great show. Gotta admit, I had to listen to a few episodes to really get it, but as a truth seeker of all things, it wasn't long before I became a big fan and look forward to every new episode. Thanks for all you do, Gons and Basil." Really, actually, one of the most poignant reviews, I think, because I get it, where that's one of the things about the show is if it's your first time listening, there's kind of a lot going on that's unusual. Not very many shows go through the amount of production that we do when it comes to jingles and the sort of inside jokes and the Flippy and all this kind of stuff. So I totally understand, and I'm glad somebody said it. You kind of have to listen or watch a few shows to really understand and get into it. And so I would recommend, if this is your first show, just keep in mind, you're not alone. It is a little weird. It seems a little, there's a lot of inside jokes and ideas that you might not be totally caught up on, but you just stick with it and you'll be part of the family in no time. So Thank you very much, Ace Band Dad, for that review. And I would like to recommend everybody go leave a rating and a review. Like that is a great idea. Give people an idea of what they're getting into, help them through the process of getting into the show. And it helps the algorithms to share the show. We have no control over that. It's all okay. Should we get back into it, Gons?
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Wake up time. All right, so this has been going around, making the rounds here, the whole 6% thing. I got a couple stories here. Which one should I go with first? I think I'm going to go with the International Business Times article first. It says here, CDC finds only 6% of coronavirus deaths are solely from COVID-19. Okay, so everyone's been talking about this over the weekend. 6%. Only 6% of people have died. They do the math, only 9,000 people have died of COVID. And that's a little dishonest too, in a sense. But I do think it's important to sort of see what the mainstream is starting to push here. An counter to this, because the CDC did in fact publish this information. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues, the death toll continues to rise, especially in the U.S., where more than 180,000 people have died since it began. However, a new figure released by the Centers for Disease Control has created a stir, especially after it was retweeted by the president. The CDC updated the provisional counts of deaths that have occurred from COVID-19 on August 26th, and in the section of on comorbidities, they revealed that only 6% of deaths were caused by just the virus. That information has been seized by those who believe the total deaths and the severity of the pandemic have been greatly exaggerated as an effort to undermine the president during an election year. And it shows a tweet here from Elizabeth Prata. It was this type of tweet that made the rounds. Only 6% of the 161,392 deaths recorded actually died solely from COVID. That's 9,683 deaths from COVID only. Total. That's the other 94% had 2 to 3 other serious illnesses, comorbidities, contributing to death, and most of those were advanced age, 74 to 85 plus. And it leaves a link there, and it shows the little section of the little section of what the CDC actually said. Another tweet. It was always been they always pick one that doesn't always have the best English here. It was always been about the election. Quote, it quotes the CDC. This week, the CDC quietly updated the COVID number. Oh, no, this isn't the CDC. It's some other guy or some other person. The CDC quietly updated the COVID number to admit that only 6% of all the 153,504 deaths recorded actually died from COVID. That's 9,210 deaths. 94% had 2 to 3 other serious illnesses. An overwhelming majority were of very advanced age. And a few more of those similar tweets there. However, others are also quickly pointed out that the number was under the comorbidity section, meaning that 94% of those deaths that were related to COVID-19 or COVID were in those who also suffered from comorbidities, the same groups that were considered higher risk when the pandemic first took hold. As a result, they took social media with replies of their own. And yeah, this tweet in response to this, Secret Society Sally said this. Did I lose Basil? Okay, you're still there.
No,
okay.
I'm here.
The stupidity is mind-blowing. Trump clans, with a K, are using this to say only 6 to 9K, don't ask, people have died from CV-19. They don't realize that 6% means they didn't have comorbidities or they weren't listed. The other 94% had comorbidities like all the high-risk factors CDC lists. This is Mrs.
That's exactly what we're saying.
This is Mrs. Krasenstein. She's a fun one. Trump retweeted a Q account with another lie which claims that the CDC says only 6% of COVID-19 deaths died from COVID-19. That's not what the study says. First off, it's not a study. It says that 6% had no underlying health conditions. Approximately 60 to 70% of Americans have underlying health conditions, you moron. Real solid thing. JM, the Irish gangster, tweeted, "To you, COVID only 6% people. It's like saying gunshot wounds don't kill people. It's a loss of blood that kills them. So that means guns have never killed anyone before, right? Use your brain. It's common sense. COVID is a catalyst for high risk we've known all along."
Okay. Okay, buddy.
And it goes on here. I don't want to read all of it.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Logical inconsistencies are really fun to just pull out to try to prove your point.
Yeah. Among the comorbidities that also contributed to the high death toll were hypertensive disease, diabetes, vascular and unspecific dementia, cardiac arrest, and heart failure of the presidential election. Specifically, many have taken issue with mask mandates around the country, debating how effective they actually are at curbing the spread. The new criticism on the death toll also comes after the CDC changed its guidelines on exactly who needs to quarantine and when, with a 14-day period no longer required for international travelers or from state to state. However, while the guideline has changed, local governments can still impose restrictions. And I think that's the end of the article there. So, I mean, it's funny how the International Business Times, all they can do is like, here's some tweets from this side, And then here are some counter tweets. And that's their whole thing. So, and then of course the other story from Forbes: Twitter removes claim about CDC and COVID-19 coronavirus deaths that Trump retweeted. So Trump retweeted one of the, I think the woman he retweeted had Mel Q. That's right, Mel Q. Not to be mistaken as the 6th member of the Spice Girls, along with Mel B and Mel C. Haha, funny Forbes guy. So Mel Q tweeted the basically the same thing out, and the whole thing goes after the QAnon thing, and of course Twitter deleted the tweet for dramatic effect. Fake news kind of
Always
thing going
makes
on.
It exciting.
Yeah, so I went to the website. As you know, we've been tracking a lot of what the CDC actually says, and we've been saying all along that their whole protocol of how to even label deaths by COVID, it was really suspect. A lot of like use your own judgment kind of thing going on.
Right.
And this is the comorbidity section here I'm showing on screen. Links are in the description of canarycrynewstalk.com. And it says here, Table 3 shows the types of health conditions and contributing causes mentioned in conjunction with deaths involving coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19. For 6% of the deaths, COVID-19 was the only cause mentioned. For deaths for deaths with conditions or causes in addition to COVID-19 on average, there were 2.6 additional conditions or causes per death. The number of deaths with each condition or cause is shown for all deaths by age group for data on comorbidity. Okay, so first off, that Krasenstein lady said that like 60 to 70% have additional conditions. I don't know if that's true, but do most Americans have 2.5 comorbidities? That's a lot of extra conditions per person.
You know, that again, going back to the person who was screaming about, how manipulating statistics, 70% of Americans have comorbidities. That depends what a comorbidity is. I mean, if you're saying 70% of Americans have had the flu before, and you're counting that as a comorbidity, that's not really exactly, that's not what we're looking at here.
Yeah.
The serious comorbidities being, one of the biggest ones being heart condition, which a lot of people do, some other sort of chronic condition, whether it's a lung condition or something. This totally makes sense. And these are just kind of things that come with age a lot of times. But then there's the development of pneumonia. That's another thing with the flu is, a lot of people don't die of the flu, but a lot of people die of pneumonia from the flu. Or pneumonia after the flu or during the flu type of thing. So, I don't know exactly. I can't quite read what you have there, but it would be interesting to know exactly what these comorbidities are.
Yeah. So this chart shows the age group from left to right. So it has all ages on one row, and then it has 0 to 24, 25 to 34, 10-year increments basically. And then below it, it's got, the total, which is 161,392. So, of course, the people saying 180,000, they're off by a little bit. But then it says influenza and pneumonia, 68,000 for total. And 0 to 24 years old, 111. 25 to 34, 564. 35 to 44, 1,400. So, yes, the majority of them.
Those are just age groups?
Age groups, yeah.
Who had pneumonia?
Who had influenza and pneumonia. And over 30,000 of them are 65 plus that had influenza and pneumonia who passed away or who are part of this 68,000 people group or number group
which
of deaths.
Pneumonia could potentially take somebody out, in that higher age group regardless.
That's what I'm saying by itself. Chronic lower respiratory diseases totaling 13,780. Adult respiratory distress syndrome, 21,899. I thought this was interesting. Respiratory failure, 54,800. That's quite a lot. And again, most of them, quadruple? No. 5-digit numbers in the 65 plus range. And then, just a few thousand in the respiratory arrest. Hypertensive disease, 35,000.
That's high blood pressure, I think.
Yep. Ischemic heart disease, 18,000. Cardiac arrest, 20,000. Heart failure, 10,000. Sepsis, 14,000. Diabetes, 25,936. Obesity, 5,600. Alzheimer's disease, vascular and unspecified dementia, 18,497. Renal failure, 13,000. And this is where it gets weird. And I didn't spend the time to look up all the codes. But intentional and unintentional injury, poisoning, and other adverse events, 5,133. 5,133.
Yeah, so that's like the motorcycle accident guy.
Right. And then the big one, all other conditions and causes, 77,990. They don't even list it. They just have a huge list of codes, like A00-A39, whatever. I didn't bother to look them all up, but huge list of codes. All other conditions make up 77,990 deaths. So yeah, like you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to be like, okay, maybe some of the reporting was a little inflated.
This is, as we've seen and documented over the past, 5-10 years, but especially recently during the past 6 months, how, conspiracy theories are deadly. We need to crack down on conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theorists are terrorists, et cetera, et cetera. But the CDC thing, and it's been happening on and off, as the CDC sort of comes out with info that doesn't quite line up with the mainstream media story, that there's now a conspiracy theory developing on the left that Trump has infiltrated the CDC or Trump has taken control of the CDC, because on its face, that's a conspiracy theory.
I know.
That's a
point.
I don't even want to say Democratic or liberal. That's just a mainstream media conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
That Trump has taken control and is manipulating the CDC to win the election. It's like, okay, guys, you can't have it both ways. Which is it? Is conspiracy theory are conspiracy theorists terrorists and dangerous, or is it a conspiracy that Trump is taking over the CDC? You can't have it both ways.
Well, the mainstream media are terrorists. That's, I think, what they're trying to tell us.
That's true. That is what Trump told me.
Passively, aggressively trying to tell us. And it was really, I was trying to find some of the documentation of how the deaths are counted. And we went over this several, I think, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and some of the discrepancies and problems with reporting. And I found it. I found this World Health Organization NCHS training outline. It's like this is for health professionals, and it's a 50-slide training, like how to report cause of death. And I don't want to go through everything here, but there is some interesting stuff in here. Should I play some of it? Just because it's
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, if you got a good spot, let's just kind of take a listen.
Okay, let's see here. This is slide 15.
The cause of death section consists of 2 parts. Part 1, where you enter the chain of events that directly caused the death, and Part 2, where you enter other significant conditions contributing to death. We'll look at Part 1 first.
Okay.
Enter the immediate cause of death in Part 1, Line A. Using the example in the previous scene, you would indicate here whatever happened right before the patient death that led to cardiopulmonary arrest. You would not enter cardiac arrest or cardiopulmonary arrest, as these are descriptions of death rather than causes of death.
Okay.
Enter the intermediate causes of death in Part 1, Lines B, C, and D. Use these lines to indicate the sequence of conditions that led to Line A. You will almost always use Line B, and, depending on the complexity of the case, you will often need additional lines.
Okay. Keeps going.
Use the last line of Part 1 to specify the cause that was not the result of another condition. This should be the event that started the sequence of conditions leading to death. For example, paraplegia, hypotension, and renal failure would not be the underlying causes because you must specify further why they developed.
Are you confused yet?
Part 2
A
is the
little
other
bit,
significant
yeah.
conditions section. Use this section to list any conditions that contributed or possibly contributed to the individual's death, but were not a part of the sequence written in Part 1.
Possibly contributed.
As you complete lines A through D in the cause of death section, you must also list the approximate time intervals between the onset of each condition and death. Use the lines to the right of lines A through D for this purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Before we
interesting.
continue on to
there's a lot of sorry.
No, go ahead.
There's a lot of
any condition
places
written.
Sorry.
where eventually COVID would make it onto the list. You
Right.
know, it's like you've got like 6 different places where you can add different aspects of what led to death. And yeah, of course, COVID's going to make it onto one of those lines, whether it's, a first priority reason, second, third, fourth, whatever, you go on down the list. So COVID, if they have COVID, it will make it on the list. Kind of like even if you have a heart attack, but you have the flu, you'll have the flu and the heart attack on your death, on your reports, wherever those reports originate. So, yeah. And of course, as we've known for months and months,
When completing
it's no
the cause of
surprise
death.
Sorry, just keep
if
playing.
COVID shows up on any part of that list, then you're counted as a COVID death. And that's what we're seeing now is there's only about 6% of the reported deaths can be directly attributed to COVID.
Yeah, yeah. And we won't sit through all of the training here, but as you can tell, it's a very involved process, and it requires I have the language here. I'm trying not to play this one. If you cannot be more exact, use terms as undetermined, probable, or presumed to qualify conditions as needed. So it's asking these people that report the death, the people that actually fill out the paperwork, weren't officially.
How on a lot of these reports, it'll say just exactly that. It'll say COVID probable or presumed, COVID, et cetera.
Right.
So yeah, and there it is, right in the instructions.
Yeah, yeah.
If you cannot be more exact, you put probable COVID or probable presumed COVID, and then it gets counted as a COVID death.
And when there's a financial incentive to report a certain way someone died, then obviously things can be stretched one way or another to gain those financial advantages. And that's the problem
here. That's been floating around for a few months, but definitely a big part of it.
Yeah. And that's not the only COVID thing here. I didn't even play the jingle. You could take it.
Mind if I read this through this one? Okay. This is from the New York Times, which I got to say, just real quick, I have been noticing, I think there's some sort of revolution going on maybe at the New York Times, or at least they are doing something about all the everybody knowing that they're just a propaganda outlet, because they've been leaning into some territory that makes you think maybe they're not completely biased and a government propaganda outlet. But let's give it a try here. New York Times, your coronavirus test is positive. Maybe it shouldn't be. Oh? Over coronavirus, relatively insignificant amounts of the virus. Most of these people are not likely to be contagious, and identifying them may contribute to bottlenecks that prevent those who are contagious from being found in time. But researchers say the solution is not less tests or to skip testing people without symptoms, as recently suggested by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. No, don't want to listen to them anymore. Instead, new data underscore the need for more widespread use. Instead, new data underscore the need for more widespread use of rapid tests, even if they are less sensitive. Quote, the decision not to test asymptomatic people is just really backward, said Dr. Michael Mina, Mina, an epidemiologist at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, referring to the CDC recommendation, quote, "In fact, we should be ramping up testing of all different people," he said, "but we have to do it through whole different mechanisms." In what may be a step in this direction, the Trump administration announced on Thursday that it would purchase 150 million rapid tests. The most widely used diagnostic test for the new coronavirus, called the PCR test, provides a simple yes-no answer to the question of whether a patient is infected. Health for Pops, quote, "It's really irresponsible, I think, to forego the recognition that this is a quantitative issue," Dr. Mina said. I'm so glad he said this, because this is something that I talk a lot about in my personal life when it comes to contracting a disease. Germs or viruses, it's really a numbers game. You got to have enough of something to become infected. Just because you have it in your body doesn't mean it's enough to make you sick. Yeah. The PCR test amplifies genetic matter from the virus in cycles. The fewer cycles required, the greater the amount of the virus or viral load in the sample. The greater the viral load, the more likely the patient is to be contagious. This number of amplification cycles needs to find the virus, called the cycle threshold, is never included in the results compiled by officials in Massachusetts, New York, and Nevada. Up to 90% of people testing positive carried barely any virus, a review by the Times found. 90% of people testing positive, barely any virus. On Thursday, where'd I go? On Thursday, the United States recorded 45,604 new coronavirus cases. 45,600 contagiousness in Massachusetts, and truly need to isolate and submit to contact tracing. One solution would be just to adjust the cycle threshold used now to decide, put it through, the more number of virus you're able to find, but it may not be, after 37 cycles, it's just such a small amount that you're going to find that it doesn't even really matter. You're not going to be contagious or anything. Right. Tests with thresholds so high may detect not just live viruses, but also genetic fragments, leftovers from infection that pose no particular risk, akin to finding a hair in a room long after a person has left, Dr. Mina said. Any test with a cycle threshold above 35 is too sensitive, agreed Juliette Morrison, a virologist at the University of California, Riverside. I'm shocked that people would think that 40 could represent a positive, she said. Oh, losing control. A more reasonable cutoff would be 30 to 35, she added. Dr. Mina said he would set the figure at 30 or even less. Those changes would mean the amount of genetic material in a patient's sample would have to be 100-fold to 1,000-fold that of the current standard for the test to return a positive result, at least one worth acting on. Let's see. So this article goes on quite a bit. Did you have anything highlighted of importance?
The CDC's own calculations suggest that it is extremely difficult to detect any live virus in a sample above a threshold of 33 cycles. Oh. Of course. Yeah, that's all I have.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Okay. Yeah. So there you go. Basically what they're saying is the tests we've been doing have been, so aggressive that, like you said, it's the equivalent of finding a hair in a room and then saying that there's a murderer in that room.
Right.
There may have been a murderer there before, but he's not there now, and so there's no reason to quarantine. Wow, I just forgot the word quarantine.
Hey, welcome to the Getting Older Club.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love when I can't remember words.
1/3 through the word and lost it. Anyways, so there you go. Very interesting to see New York Times actually talking about the fact that this might be setting up as and the hairs in a room.
Yeah.
It might be a setup to do a big backpedal on this whole entire thing.
Yeah. Well, it's at this point, I think they're running out of steam with the whole lockdown anyway. I looked at the link here for the 33 cycles, and it takes you to the CDC website during duration of isolation and precautions for adults with COVID-19. Nowhere in the document does it mention 33. So, I didn't read it, obviously, but I did a quick word search, both in text and in number, and not seeing...
So that was just the New York Times putting it in there for fun.
I haven't. Yeah, that makes no number. There's nothing here that mentions 33 being an adequate number for a threshold for any kind of virus sampling.
On over there.
Maybe it is a backpedaling. As we say on the show,
snitches get stitches.
Okay, what do you think? You got another story before we're pretty much over time.
Weird. You're getting all your anyway.
Self-care, Gons. Self-care.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, well, there you go, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank our Twitch followers, YouTube followers, everybody tuning in live. We appreciate it so much. And remember, follow us at a few different outlets because and turn on notifications. It's the only way you're going to make it to the next show. And the next show is going to be on Wednesday. I know. Okay, so yes, Wednesday, 2nd of September, sometime between noon and 3, we'll be going live there. So make sure to tune in then. You're going to love it. And remember, we need some producers for the next show. Producership has slowed down a little bit. We understand the end of the month, budgets are tight. Rent is due, so we understand it's not the easiest thing to do. But if you guys are able to jump in, we're only able to do the show because of our the generous support of our producers, keeping the value for value system going. So we appreciate that very much. Remember us for that Wednesday show. You can go to patreon.com/CCNT, become a producer there. Or if you don't like Patreon, you can go to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. And I'm reminded donation guns, it might be dying down.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Well, it's hard to top the person I don't have the name off.
Teresa. Her name's Teresa. Very generous. 33. She's the General 33 coming in. The Admiral.
Was she the one that gave the $333.33?
Yes. The mega 33 donation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's an interesting, and I'll make this very quick because we need to get out of here, but I was a little worried about reading her donation amount because I'm like, maybe people will think we don't need any more donors because Teresa was so generous. And I thought, no, don't think that way. But of course, we had one producer come in the next show, and I think we had 2 today. So yeah, we're going to continue to read the amounts for people who want to try to take back that 33 number from the elites. But just remember, just because we get a big one once, that doesn't mean we don't need new producers coming in. So if you've been waiting for your time, biding your time to become a producer of the show, now is the time. So please remember us for Wednesday, sometime between noon and 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But you can also become a producer if the financial support's not in the cards for you. That's okay. You can become a producer by creating art, creating jingles, and creating show-specific songs for the Canary Cry mixtape at the end. We appreciate that so very much. And remember, you can send all that art and music to canarycryradio@gmail.com. We appreciate that very, very much. Let's see. Am I forgetting anything? I don't think so. So remember, you can share the show. You got friends, you got family. They're waking up to the fact that the world is not what it seems, and you can help them. Just go ahead, send them an episode of this show. If you heard one that was especially impactful to you and you think it might help out somebody waking up, send them on over. Send them the episode. We'll be happy to gently guide them down the narrow path of truth of what's going on in the world today. And that
much as we had predicted.
You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy.
Leave the bird alone.
Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah, folks. And Gons, we better watch out because Izzy Blue in the YouTube chat says, I will expose this chamble.
Oh, so, yeah. Well, good thing it's a chamble.
Think outs.
Can't deal with it right now, Basil.
Called it.
Let's drop that canarycryradio.com/support in the chat for y'all, folks.
It will kill. It will kill.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I wanna shake things up, shake things up. I wanna shake things up, shake things up. I wanna rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
People, I'll keep you safe and warm. In my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now. In my people's zoo. You, yeah, you. In my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on.